Taking a little break from the Charlie Kirk coverage, although this does seem to be related, since Mormons figured into the Charlie Kirk story in that Orem, Utah, well, Utah in general is the, home of the Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And of course, there were a lot of Mormon symbolism and Freemasonry symbolism in that incident. And it looks like we've got that connection here as well. So we are talking about the Michigan shooting. I've got shooting in quotation marks because, as you know, these incidents bear a little more digging. Let me just make sure I'm off camera. Get that going for you here, since I am filming live, but I'm off camera. I want to share with you some videos and also all of the research that I've been working on all day long. So I've come across some CIA connections, and wouldn't you know it, there is an active shooter training organization in this little very town of Grand Blanc, which only has about 7,900 people. So let me share with you some of my notes here. I normally don't watch the news or follow the endless parade of events that are trotted out with the intention of fomenting fear and terror and trauma so that it's easier for people to give up their guns and give up their freedom. But here we have yet another shooting. So Michigan has been the state with, oh my gosh, a handful of these events over the last few years. Tomorrow, I'll have a video for you where I'm going to break down and cover those previous events. And I'm going to show you step by step how the freedoms have been taken away. Keep in mind that Michigan is one of those hunting states where most people, well, as far as I understand it, most people who hunt have guns and they want to keep their guns, except when they start to see things like this. And there have been laws that were passed very recently, including those red flag gun laws where someone can just alert the authorities that they might think you're going to do something bad. And guess what? They can take away your firearms because, thought crimes. So there have been assault weapon bans, these red flag laws. The senator that I'm going to share with you, who is a Jewish Democrat that is basically funded by the gun lobby, wants to give $50 million to the CDC. Yes, the CDC, to study gun violence, because don't you know, it's the guns that are violent, not the people. Oh, I should say they're calling it gun safety, just like vaccine safety. Oh, it's so much more palatable, isn't it? Well, here's one of the newscasters, the spellcasters on the scene. Do you see what I see? Those who are awake and aware see exactly what I see. And those who are still slumbering, well, I hope that you'll wake up. I have done several videos about the signs and symbols that some people are still blind to, willingly blind to. They don't want to accept the fact that things are communicated through gestures. There's nothing wrong with doing the A-OK gesture or the thumbs up gesture. It's the intention behind it. And I've spoken about that many times. Please watch my Charlie Kirk playlist if you would like to learn more about that. Again, this is a developing story. So by the time this is airing, and I am streaming live here on September 29th, then the story may have changed. But before we get into all the details, let's take a look at some of these witnesses. I always like to go to the witness statements first, because that will give me a read of the situation. Now, some people I know will say, yeah, these events may have happened, and the media is so thirsty for getting witnesses that they will pay people or just drum up people or find whoever they can. So there is a school of thought that says the events actually happen, but the reason why the witnesses are so horrible is because the media will just trot out anybody they want because they want to have a breaking story. That well may be. A little bit farther in this broadcast, I'm going to answer the question, why would they do this? How can they all be in on it? And then I'm going to give you the PSYOP checklist so that you can just mark it off the list. Maybe I'll have that in tomorrow's video. But basically, there are the same old story, the same old script, the same old witnesses that look so devastated after just experiencing what they went through. In fact, I may have something here for you. So let me grab, there's Grevin Witchmer. Draw your own conclusions. Now, this little snippet I'll play for you. It's interesting. I can't find the original where this person who's leading the press concert, yes, it is a performance, actually misspoke. And she said, we're going to hear from Gretchen Whitmer. I may be exaggerating a little bit, but she did misspeak, and it did sound as though she was saying Gretchen Witch, and then she caught herself. And as you'll see now, the newscaster talks right over that press officer, so we can't hear them say that. Let's take a listen.
This is an ABC News special report.
Good afternoon, I'm Diane Maceda. We're coming on the air because authorities are holding a briefing on the deadly mass shooting and arson attack at a Michigan Mormon church over the weekend, and that briefing is getting started. Let's listen.
FBI acting special agent in charge, Ruben Coleman.
So she already has introduced Whitmer, and as I say, the spellcaster so cleverly spoke right over her. I do want to take a look at one of these witnesses. All right, here we have it. So you can see he's shocked, he's devastated. You'll listen to how the interviewer, the reporter, is basically feeding him lies. Oh, excuse me, I meant feeding him lines.
Ryan, right now I can see bloodstains on your shirt.
Oh, I'm sorry. I need my glasses. I need my glasses. Friends, let me know if you see the bloodstains. I need my glasses here. Let's back that up. Yes, I'd like to interrupt.
Ryan, right now I can see bloodstains on your shirt. What happened?
So we were driving away. We were trying to gather as many people as we could. There was a couple of elderly ladies that we were trying to get into safety, so we got them into our car.
This is exactly how someone would sound. Don't be assuming that he sounds bored or disinterested or trying to remember his lines. I wouldn't conclude that at all, friends. Of course, he's just been through a very traumatic experience. And you know, and I know how trauma can leave an indelible etching on your face of shock, of grief, of disbelief, of concern. And of course, all of those things are very visible on this individual.
I saw the active shooter come out of the building, and at that point, I just started trying to drive away. He pointed his gun at our car and fired 3 shots. 2 of them went through our windshield and just missed me, and luckily everybody else. I think this is just glass shrapnel.
So 3 shots and 2 hit. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 and 2, 32. Some of you don't like to find these clues. I look for these clues. You can discard them if you like. 32 is a very high level of Freemasonry. And yes, there is a Masonic temple here in this tiny, tiny, tiny town of Grand Blanc, which is a suburb basically of Flint, Michigan. I'm going to share that more info with you there. So the Freemasons love to have their signs and symbols embedded into these stories so that people that are in the know, who are in the club, will understand that these things are orchestrated and sensationalized and manufactured to manipulate you. So all of these numbers that are being, well, maybe not all of them, but many of the numbers that are being mentioned, as we'll see, because this is going to be a long video, I'm going into great detail, then you will hear more about this. Let me back it up just a little bit again. As I do so, I want you to look in the background, and I want you to pay attention to what's going on here. There are a couple of people, civilians, not law enforcement, that I guess they're letting help put up the crime scene investigation tape. And then the fellow in the background, I guess, was told, okay, make it look like you're putting the tape there, because he rolls it up, he unrolls it, trying to expand the amount of time that it looks like he's doing something. You have to catch all of these things when you're gathering clues. If you want to figure out what's going on, or if you just want to be bamboozled, just believe the media. They would never lie to you. They never lied to you about COVID. They never lied to you about the chemtrails. They never lied to you about the vaccines. They never lied to you about any of that stuff. Why would they start lying to you about this? I mean, come on. Just believe exactly what you're told. Do not question.
Stains on your shirt.
Mm-hmm.
What happened?
So we were driving away. We were trying to gather as many people as we could. There was a couple of elderly ladies that we were trying to get into safety, so we got them into our car. I saw the active shooter come out of the building, and at that point, I just started trying to drive away. He pointed his gun at our car and fired 3 shots. Two of them went through our windshield and just missed me, and luckily everybody else. I think this is just glass shrapnel that got me. And then we got out, and then now we're just trying to kind of find out why and how and what happened.
So I'm sure you would stay right at the scene. You wouldn't want to be with your family, wouldn't want to collect your thoughts. I mean, this is just very, very strange to me that somebody would be hanging out after this event. And it's actually, the whole thing seems strange to me.
I don't have any words to describe what you're going through right now. How are you right now?
Shocked.
You guys, please tell me that I'm not the only one that is flabbergasted by his demeanor here. Now, for some reason, I could not embed this on my Substack, but I just gave you this little clip here. I will leave a link for you if you want to watch the whole video. But here the reporter is feeding him lines about, I can't imagine how devastated you are, because obviously the guy looks so bored. We've got this rent-a-cop over here trying to pretend like he knows what he's doing with the yellow tape. I mean, the whole thing's like a circus.
And then we got out, and then now we're just trying to kind of find out why and how and what happened.
Brian, I don't have any words to describe what you're going through right now. How are you right now?
Shocked.
Oh my gosh. It gets worse, friends. Worst is worse than worse. Why can't we see those bullet holes? I'd like to see where he was shot. I'd like to see that blown out windshield. Where's that? I'd like to know. Well, let me share with you another video. Here we go. This is another witness statement. Let's do this.
Pray together and love together. And so many others have said, we have enough hate across this country, and we all just need to be more kind to one another. So I hope we remember that message.
So they're outside the suspected shooter's home, who was already shot dead by the cops, as we're told. What are all the ambulances doing there? And why do you need so many? They were not out at the scene of the Mormon. I'm going to give you all the details in a moment, but this was at a Mormon meeting house, we're told. And why are all these ambulances outside the suspect's home? Isn't that strange to you? Probably if we analyze these license plate, that looks like it says 444. I mean, there's so much that you could look at, but of course, they're talking about let's be kind to each other and can't we all just get along? That reminds me of the Rodney King escapade in Los Angeles, which also was proven in the subsequent years to be full of holes. Remember, friends, they do this through trauma and terror and fear. And you're seeing these things, you're seeing the ambulances and you're thinking, oh my gosh, looks like a massacre. No. And of course, it says Patriot right here. So look for all these different things that you can see. And I'll share some more.
Hospital, of course, confirming to us it's caring for some of the victims, in a statement writing just a short time ago, our hearts go out to our patients, their families, and the community, including the people worshiping when the tragic act of violence occurred. Our team has cared for 9 people injured in the shooting. And so far, Henry Ford says the hospital was briefly on lockdown due to this active shooter situation. And then that lockdown, of course, was lifted.
So there were 9 victims. That's another significant number for these evildoers. And why was there a statement by a medical professional about this incident? And there was nothing for Charlie Kirk. There was no press concert. There was no one speaking from a podium giving an update onto his condition or what happened. Instead, it was Donald Trump who made an announcement. Yet here we've got the medical, a statement from the medical provider.
Multiple crews on scene responding. We do have 7 News Detroit reporter Darren Cunningham. He's in Burton in front of the alleged suspect's home. Let's go to him now. Darren, what are we learning?
Yes, so I can tell you that we are about 8 miles from, so we're at this outside the suspect's home, 8 miles from the church. That's about 18 minutes.
All right, I did misspeak. That previous scene apparently was at the church. But if the shooter was already dead and the people were already at the hospital, my statements still stand. It's very important when you hear him say that we are 8 miles away. He repeats that we are 8 miles away. And it's 18 minutes. 8 plus 1 is 9. What's the significance of 8 miles? Well, does it bring to mind rapper Eminem's autobiographical movie called 8 Mile? Did you know, you probably don't if you're not from Michigan or the Detroit area, that it's an 8 mile district is a very significant mention because it's the difference between the inner city and the suburbs. In other words, where you've got the racial tensions, you've got economic differences, and I'll share that with you because I did a little research about that. So mentioning 8 miles insinuates into this story, inserts into this story for people who are aware of that, either something subliminal, that maybe this had something to do with race, or maybe this had something to do with economics, or again, just fomenting a divide, because these stories are created to divide people, to confuse people, to manipulate and control people. And I'm going to break that down for you in more detail as soon as we finish up this little snippet.
So I'm actually joined by a couple of residents here in Burton. Jason and Jennifer, how are you?
Good. Well, been a pretty somber day for what's going on close to home now, but right?
Yeah, pretty
So-
upsetting. Very upsetting to know that it's right in your backyard. I mean,
Really upsetting. It's super upsetting when it's right in your own backyard. Friends, I'm going to leave these for you. I think we got enough of a picture, literally, of these witnesses that some will say they're just in shock, Peggy. Everybody grieves differently. Well, I'm not seeing any grief. I'm not seeing any upset. That's the issue. Unless, I mean, the whole thing is very strange to me. So here we have the witnesses. He was shocked. Oh my gosh, that's so darn funny. Here's another fellow. He was a former missionary in Grand Blanc, Michigan, and again, looks very upset. And here again, the witnesses that look so distraught, and the mention of the 8 mile. So here is the reference I got. It's described as a historically significant boundary between the city and the suburbs, symbolizing the separation of white and Black neighborhoods and racial and economic divides. So I got that from the 8 Mile Road Detroit Historical Society. Otherwise, there would be no reason to even mention that. It doesn't even make sense. So here's another witness. It sounds like she got her story straight. But it is very strange because she very carefully and clearly, like she's reciting something, says what happens. And she says that some people picked her up, and in fact, it was that man with the red cup apparently picked her up, and then they started shooting at the car, and she was very scared, and some other nice people let her in, and I don't understand why she's there and why she just didn't go home. Let her in where? Who are these nice people? And the reporter had to mention that the story got underway at 10:30. So let's see if this story sounds familiar. You got a lone gunman who starts shooting random people for no reason whatsoever at a place like a church or a park or a school. And in this case, it's a Mormon meeting house in this tiny town outside of Flint, Michigan. Here's what we're told. First, the suspect rams his truck through a brick wall, and then he starts the brick meeting house on fire, because y'all know how easy it is for fireproof bricks to catch on fire. Of course, I'm not concluding that this was really an abandoned building that somebody wanted to get rid of anyway. You know, fires are never suspicious now, are they? It's not like someone would ever use arson to collect insurance on a building that they couldn't sell. I mean, that would never happen. So here we've got the suspect is 40-year-old Thomas Jacob Sanford, a Marine veteran. Oh, now don't be taking the guns away from the Marines and the veterans who have mental health issues. That's what we're going to be told next. And of course, the suspect was killed in a police shootout. How convenient. I wonder when the manifesto will be found. Did anybody buy a t-shirt yet? Did anybody get the Grand Blanc Strong t-shirts yet? Here's what they made after the Michigan State University event a few years ago when 3 people were sadly, tragically killed, as we're told. And yeah, Spartan strong, so no one will ever forget it. So the trauma can continue. And suffice it to say, after that MSU incident, that's when the red flag laws, came into being in case someone might commit a crime. Forget about the Constitution. Mind reading is more important, friends. So let me get back to the story. And I do mean story. So the chief of police goes into great detail about all the timing. The police received the call at 10:25, and 32 seconds later, hey, it reminds me of the guy with the red cup, where he said there were 3 bullets that were fired. 2 of them hit the car, 3 and 2. Well, 32 seconds later, they arrived on the scene, and at 10:33 a.m., because 33 is a significant number to the Freemasons, the highest degree in Freemasonry, although there probably are higher. Even the secret societies don't tell us everything. And that was 8 minutes later. Let's keep inserting the number 8 into the story so we can reinforce the 8 Mile, which is significant in Michigan. And Grand Blanc, they have to tell us, is around 60 miles northwest of central Detroit, 6 being another important number. There's the chief of police, also could not really keep a straight face and stammered a few times. He did call it the Church of Latter-day Saints. I thought that was interesting. So again, I've spent all day researching this, friends. I could barely, there's so much to get through, but here's a few more things. Here's where the suspect lived. Of course, there's a brand new Trump-Vance campaign sign, even though the election was nearly a year ago. Doesn't look like it ever got rained on, or there was never snow. I guess there's no snow in Michigan. I guess it's really good weather, so there's never any snow or rain, and that sign doesn't look like it was just placed there. Now, was it? Why in the non-spinning world would they do that? Okay, so let's really talk here, friends. So the location, Grand Blanc. It happens to be the home of Allied Defense Training, which runs active shooter drills. I'm going to share that with you in just a moment. It's also the home of Jewish Democrat fervent anti-gun activist and former CIA operative, U.S. Senator Elisa Slotkins, who happens to just live right down the street from this Mormon meeting house. Oh, and Grand Blanc is also the home of a Masonic lodge. So here we have it, Grand Blanc. Grand Blanc is what I would call it in French. Population 7,784. I think I got here, it's updated in 2024, 7,900 people. And here it is. There's the Grand Blanc Masonic Lodge, right basically in downtown Grand Blanc. And here's all about the Mormons. I'm sorry, there are Mormons, but this is all about the Masons. Well, Masons, Mormons. Mormons started from Masonry. That's how it all got started in Utah anyway. And I'll be doing more of a detailed video on the Freemasons, but I couldn't find how many people attend that Mormon meeting house. But the population is around 7,900. The population of Michigan is about 10 million. And I learned that there are less than 50,000 Mormons in Michigan, which is less than 1% of the population. So if I just extrapolate that to Grand Blanc, there might have been 40 people who belonged to that meeting house. So I showed you a couple of the strange witnesses who casually described the horrific event without any hint of genuine emotion. And then the anti-gun lawmakers who immediately hold the press concert, warning the public to not let conspiracy theories or social media take over the narrative. And then, of course, the senator who lives right down the street. Are you following me, friends? If you're chatting on the live chat, listen to this one. The Senator Elisa Slotkin worked for the CIA. She was recruited right out of school. She spent 3 tours in Iraq performing military intelligence. She just happens to live right down the street from where the shooting took place. Nothing to see here, folks. Nothing to see here. It's not like she would have orchestrated that or have recruited any of the people, or maybe have used some of her CIA crony friends and family members to play these roles. That would never happen, especially the fact that Slotkin, and I'll show you a picture of her in just a moment, especially that Slotkin. Let's see if I can find her here. I'll cover some of that story. Here she is, especially since she was promoted by the gun lobby called Moms for Action. Of course, if you put the word moms in front of it, you won't know that it's literally a communistic fascist, use any adjective you like, trying to take our constitutional rights. They paid for her to get into office. Well, she was probably selected to go into office since here it is, Every Town for Gun Safety, Every Town for Gun Safety Action Fund, and its grassroots network, Moms Demand Action. And of course, Students Demand Action. I'm going to break this down for you tomorrow, friends. They gave $4 million for a media campaign to highlight the Republicans' opposition. They call it common sense gun safety laws. Of course, they can't call it unconstitutional gun laws. So here it is. Someone with a gun sense champion like Elisa Slotkin. Here she is. She was recruited by the CIA directly out of graduate school and trained as a Middle East analyst. Friends, you can't make this up. So she is the one giving the press concert right after this happened. And she said, don't listen to the conspiracy theorists and don't listen to social media. Oh, the lady doth protest too much. Oh, this guy here, he also lives right down the street. Pretty much of a quinky dink. Let me go back just a little bit. We'll get to this anti-gun person in a moment, because I wanted to point out, so we talked about the CIA angle, the Mormon angle, of course, it happened at a Mormon church, and the Charlie Kirk incident happened in a largely Mormon state. And of course, all of the Mormon and Freemasonry links and other very strange coincidences that I shared with you. Here's the Detroit, Michigan temple. The day prior to this event, the 101-year-old president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or Later-day Saints, as the chief of police said, he passed away the day before. I find that interesting. Oh, wouldn't you know, there are 23 pictures, 2 and 3. I probably got that from Daily Mail. They often give a lot of the clues here. Here's another weird thing that happened, another connection to Charlie Kirk. So a 64-year-old man, Dan Beasley, wanted to deliver a massive wooden cross to this church. Here he is. Look familiar? He says that he was at the Charlie Kirk Memorial in Phoenix, and he had the cross in Texas at the floods at Camp Mystic. You can't make this stuff up. The week before, he says he was in Minneapolis because there was another orchestrated event, and he's actually from Michigan. What did he get that cross on a plane? How did he get that from, well, I guess it was a week ago. Did he know there was going to be another event here? Inquiring minds want to know. So he was at the Oxford High School shooting, the Uvalde shooting, the Memphis funeral for Tyler Nichols. Oh, excuse me, Tyree. It looks so close to Tyler. I have lots of coverage about Tyler's on my previous videos. So let's talk about why they would do this. And then I'm going to share with you the active shooter company that just happens to be in Grand Blanc, Michigan. Those who want to control us, they have several items on their to-do list, friends. They might have different approaches and so forth. Of course, the imposing the digital IDs, the restricting travel, the fomenting the constant state of fear, all of that is a part of it. But here's what they want. They want to take away the guns. I think everybody knows that. Can we agree on that? They call it gun safety laws, kind of like vaccine safety testing. They want to reduce the population. We know that. They do it through the drugs, through the shots, through the birth control, through abortion, through the manufactured wars to get rid of all the young men so they can't procreate. And of course, instilling fear, terror, trauma with the nonstop, horrific, and manufactured events. What's next? They create order out of chaos. Hey, Rob McCoy, the pastor, excuse me, got a little frog in my throat. Out of his sermon, he said that Charlie Kirk, one of his magic tricks, I don't know if he said magic tricks, one of his miracles. There are plenty of miracles that Charlie Kirk performed. The media keeps telling us. But Rob McCoy said that Charlie Kirk creates order out of chaos. I quote, and I'm going to share that with you in my part 2 of Rob McCoy. That's what they want to do. They want to create order out of chaos because the emotionally devastated population is more easily manipulated and controlled. So here we have Slotkin, who was the one who pushed, well, she was a representative and now she's a senator, and she has pushed with her cronies to get these gun laws passed in Michigan. I just showed you that she is bankrolled by this organization called Everytown for Gun Safety. Gee, it sounds so grassroots. Of course, we've got these 3 lines and 3 lines, 33. Those with eyes can see, understand. I don't even need to explain it. So here we have it. She is the poster child for this organization. When a state like Michigan, with its long tradition of hunting, elects a gun sense champion like Elissa Slotkin, it's clear the politics around gun safety have undergone a seismic shift, says John Feinblatt. Draw your own conclusions, friends. President of Everytown for Gun Safety. Everytown made sure Michigan voters knew that Mike Rogers, who was the Republican, opposed common sense gun safety laws, and now will work with Senator-elect, that was right after she was elected, Slotkin, on new measures to keep guns out of dangerous hands. You see, they're using the phrase common sense gun safety laws to make it more palatable to people like you and me who know that the guns are not the issue. It's the orchestrated events that are the issue. It's the fear mongering, the terror and the trauma that is intentionally created and manufactured in order to persuade and coerce people to give up their protection, their self-protection. And here we have the CIA operative, Elissa Slotkin. Here we have it, Allied Defense, active shooter training. And they are right here in Grand Blanc, Michigan. What are the chances? Here's their website. Allied, this comes from their Facebook page. Allied Defense provides active shooter training for businesses, churches, and schools. Our goal is to empower those around us. And here they are, Grand Blanc, Michigan. Let's go to the website. Oh, well, maybe I'll share that in a little bit later. But what I want to share with you is this little video. And they talk about blurring the lines between what's real and what's fake. Yes, I think we can see between those lies, can't we? Oh, I guess that is not playing. I will leave a link for you, friends, and you can also, I don't know why that's not playing. You can see that for yourself. Speaking of witches, as Gretchen Whitmer says, she highly recommends this book, which is called The Witches Are Coming. I don't know what happened to Gretchen Whitmer because she looks very, very different in that picture than she does here. Now, I don't know anybody who practices witchcraft. It's a thing. I do see evil when I recognize evil when I see it. And that looks pretty darn bizarre and not normal to me at all. What say you? The red and the black, very demonic colors, and of course the important symbols. And why is there a doctor addressing the media when we never heard from a doctor? Well, why is because they normally do that. They didn't do it in the Charlie Kirk incident. And was there anything else I wanted to share with you here? So there's something called Strong Cities Network. And we can't really find out who's on their membership list because it's also secret. But I did find this picture on the Strong Cities Network webpage. Do you see what I see? They're the ones that want all the cities to be strong and resilient and unified. I bet you that Michigan and Detroit is on that list. I'll dig into that in my video tomorrow, friends, where we're going to be looking at the other incidents that happened in Michigan under this witch's watch. And you know how horrible she was in the whole cooties hogwash, one of the worst states, neck and neck with California, New York, Oregon, Washington, Hawaii, and Michigan was right up with that. So friends, I'm going to take a look at some of your comments here. I want to thank you for being on board. I want to thank you for sharing this email. And I want to thank you for being on my Substack, which is peggyhall.substack.com. FG says this church event has Sandy Hook vibes. Yes, Shady Nook as I call it. Wide Awake says, oh my, the guns are on the loose. Martha says, Gretchen has been drinking that special red drink. That wouldn't have anything to do with those red blood vials now that Erica Kirk showed on her very private Instagram page, because she was very personal. She doesn't like to share any of her personal details except for the inordinate number of blood vials. Why would she share that? Why would she share shoes of her daughters that have the all-seeing eye on them? Oh, I could go on and on about Erica Kirk. And trust me, I will, because God calls us to expose the evil doers. And Phil says, can we put this on a large board showing all the connections? Yes. Share this video. And tomorrow I'm going to give you the PSYOP checklist, and you'll know how to spot the PSYOP. And I also have another funny thing, like a PSYOP card that you can carry around and say, here's another PSYOP that I don't believe in. I don't even know if I can use that word on this channel. Virtual Dude says, I'm